All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So we're here today with Charles Solomon. He's the founder and managing partners. He's part of the managing partners for Centripetal Advisors. They provide fractional financial leadership for SaaS companies in the seed stage and on. So thank you so much for being here, Charles. On you. And I was wondering if we can start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure, Carolyn. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. Um, Happy to share my career journey with you. So I started my career at a company called Gerson Lehrman Group, which was backed by Silver Lake at the time I joined, big private equity fund. GLG was this fast-growing kind of middle market private company. And I was there on the finance and strategy team for a little over 4 years, doing budgeting and analytics, some internal tooling even at the end, and really helped manage and understand the business at scale and in detail, which was part of the mandate from the PE folks. I left. I got my MBA at Columbia University in New York City, so I didn't have to leave the city, which was great. And did decide to leave after getting my MBA. I moved to Brazil and worked at a startup accelerator in Rio de Janeiro. And yeah, I was there. I learned Portuguese. I don't have any Brazilian uh, genetics or history, family history or anyone, but anything like that. But I took a big risk and went down there. Had a great experience. We actually had some exits, which was pretty crazy. Um, Eventually came back to the States and was working in a business development role for the big payroll company ADP, and building partnerships with private equity, venture capital, and family office. And in the process of growing my Rolodex, wound up helping a founder who I was making introductions for and was making introductions for me, helped him raise $60 million. And when I did that, he asked me to go on and help another company of his with the fundraise. And that's when I started Centripetal as this umbrella to do my work independently. And been doing it for 7 years, and it's evolved nicely from independent practice that was pretty opportunistic to a firm that is slowly starting to scale here, and do a wonderful job delivering value to clients.
Very interesting. Sounds like quite the journey. A lot of courage too. Tell us about Centripetal Advisors and its mission.
Yeah, simply put, our mission is to help founders, right? Period, point blank. I've been on a lot of calls with founders, and I always share that. Perhaps we owe it to level up our marketing and make that front and center instead of the Charlie Munger quote. But yeah, that's the mission, and we always try and do that, whether that's through, our typical work engagement or not. But obviously, the way we do that from like a commercial perspective is through fractional CFO leadership for startups and SaaS startups in particular, like you said. So that involves, hiring Centripetal and us deploying a fractional CFO, and we've got a little staffing model. So there's one person, there's some redundancy, um, and helping lead that company and guide that company to make it as successful as humanly possible. The other thing we do sometimes to achieve the ends of our mission, if you will, on a commercial basis is coaching. So there are founders that maybe seed that don't need a full fractional CFO, um, or even earlier, but they want to do coaching around their seed raise or what comes next and or how to plan to get to a place where they can raise an A, and then they feel like they need a fractional CFO at that point. And so we kind of come down market a little bit there, to try and meet folks where they're at and add value and hopefully help them not create a lot of the problems we see when we come in and have to clean them up, right? And build more sustainable, scalable businesses. And whether we get to join them later or not isn't really the point. The point is to make them better than they are when we meet them. And so that's why I started doing some coaching as well.
Close that gap. Excellent. I love it. Can you tell us a story about the value that you've delivered to a client, just to give us an example of the types of services you may provide.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to tell a little bit of the story at a company called Megadata, where the fractional CFO, our 1 year anniversary, our 4 year anniversary, excuse me. Our 4 year anniversary is coming up in about 2 months from this podcast recording. I don't know when this is going out. So I've been with them a while, and yeah, I met them, like I said, 4 years ago, and there was a lot going on at the time. The business was performing well on an underlying basis, but it wasn't necessarily clear how well and in what areas it was performing. It was just, the revenue was kind of going up, which was good. I had a sense of the growth rate, and the burn wasn't wildly high, which, seemed good. But there were certainly some questions. How much should we be burning? What's good? What is efficient? What isn't? There were questions based on just how the financials were set up. How efficient is sales and marketing? What's gross margin? Some of these basic things that we were able to unlock for them and kind of show them what kind of business they had and the extent to which they're performing well. And that led to us helping them get their first institutional investor, which is actually a venture debt provider. So I raised $1 million in venture debt, which was a nice proof point to have a non kind of friends and family type of investor come on board, even if it was on the debt side. And then um, after that process, with a little fresh capital, a little more progress, and a little more execution, kind of used our network to help find a group that would later become an investor in Series A, and then that would help us find kind of the lead for the Series A. So we got to flex the network there, and a really nice size Series A, um, and a really positive, healthy transaction for the business. At that point, I got put on the board with the CEO, Shalom, and the Series A lead, which was Blueprint Equity, and Bobby from Blueprint's on the board. He's wonderful. He's great to work with. So expanded my role with the company. Not typical for fractional CFOs, but I think indicative of the fact that we get very hands-on, we're very in the weeds, and we deal with a lot of stuff right alongside our founders that they trust us enough to help put us in a position to help make big decisions to build the companies that will hopefully transform, their families' lives. And since Series A, we've refinanced the venture debt with a line of credit and about lowering the cost of capital. We've implemented much more rigorous kind of KPI dashboarding and reporting for the board level. So we're much sharper on performance and performance trends. And yeah, we really the business is really humming along now and doing quite nicely. Um, and yeah, in the process, I think made a lot of people happy and made it a great home for a lot of people. And at the same time, I think the best is yet to come.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So you ended up working with them for 4 years, I think you
Yes,
said.
I'm still there. They haven't kicked me out yet. So
That's incredible.
yeah, it's funny, some people say fractional CFO engagements have to end at some point. And I think we take that as a challenge.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
I would say that the engagements do have to end if someone wants to move to a very heavy ERP. The amount of workload for that is quite high.
yeah.
They do have to end if an investor says, "I need you to hire a full-time person." There's not much I can do about that, or we can. And I do think they also need to end if there's a lot of transactions in one period, meaning someone's gonna buy another company, raise equity and debt. Like, that lift is hard. Um, but providing thoughtful leadership on, ongoing kind of business operations and dealing with a couple transactions a year, you know, that's something we could do for a really, really, really long time. And I'm confident that I will be even more excited about how far we can go with customers in 3 months and 6 months and 9 months, because we're doing a lot with AI to make all of that more efficient, more transparent, and just better. So Yeah, I hope I'm with Megadata for another 4 years, and I think we could do it.
That's amazing. Great. Can you tell us what major shifts you're seeing in your industry right now, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about on the client side, like, our clients. I think that there's some really interesting shifts. On the venture capital side, look, AI has changed the game in terms of what funds will look for and benchmark against in terms of growth rate and performance. The amount of growth that they're looking for in breakout companies is just incredible. Um, it's easy to say. I'm sure this is true every 5 or 10 years, but it is unprecedented. So the bar is really high, compared
Mhm.
to where it was on the VC side. So that's an interesting challenge, is trying to help folks get to growth really quickly. Um, at the same time, I think there are these efficient businesses, and we work with a couple of these, that a new subset of VC has been created to serve, called early growth equity, for businesses that are efficient and that are growing nicely, but aren't necessarily, going to the moon or going to the moon immediately. Um, the evolution of that space over the past 6 years has been, I think, really healthy for the startup world. And it's become quite mature and competitive, which is good for us and good for our clients. They've got options if they're not, growing at 1,000% or 500%. There's still plenty of folks that want to invest. So I think that's interesting. And then, yeah, for folks that are struggling or not meeting some of these rigorous standards, either on growth or, in a growth plus efficiency basis, which there are some. I think there's some interesting M&A targets for clients. As the bar moves up and more people don't necessarily clear it, but they're investor backed and they're founders that still have ambition and need to find a way to get to growth, and that might mean moving over to someone else's company. So those are three things that we think about quite a bit. Um, and then internally for us, I think I mentioned it, like, I think technology is the biggest change on, like, the finance side. So I follow Ben Murray. He puts out a great, great report on fintech analysis in terms of what CFOs or the office of the CFO is using. So now they're seeing, folks like QuickBooks getting, losing share a little bit here and there to some of the new incumbents, and there are some that are pretty interesting. So I think the evolving technological landscape for what tools we use or come across or recommend keeps us on our toes. Got to do a lot of homework to be able to be cutting edge. And internally, no question, AI is the number one thing I want to implement at Centripetal. We did it this year in marketing first, um, and we did it starting in September on operations, and it's early days, but I mean, in 3 to 6 months, it's going to really, really make a big difference in how we deliver to customers: speed, accuracy, reliability, the amount of time we're going to be able to spend on even more strategic stuff versus kind of grinding through, which is certainly stuff we're comfortable doing.
Yeah,
And you have to do it the early stage, but and it will never fully go away. But AI is pretty big game changer, and I'm excited that we're investing in it.
yeah. There's lots of factors for your niche for sure with SaaS companies. I was wondering, how has these trends impacted your growth strategy at all?
Yeah, I started saying this last year, actually. People would ask me, like, how do you scale this business? You're a service-based business. You need more people, and then you have to keep the people and keep them happy. And it's a constant, like, chicken and the egg. And I think it always will be, but I started saying AI is how we scale this. And I didn't know when or how to deploy it, but it was clear that that was a big part of the answer. And I think it is still a big part of the answer, in terms of the underlying processing and being able to be fast and efficient and consistent, which clients require. And they should. The bar should go up for quality of service for us too, and what's demanded. Um, but in terms of growth, I think that until we've implemented it further, and that'll happen soon enough, we still don't try to grow that quickly, and we've always been pretty intentional about that. Onboarding is a very sensitive time we want to master speed to value. We want to add value as quickly as humanly possible. Um, we've got to get to know the company. They've got to get to know us. We've got to get a feel for certain things. We have to fix or clean up certain things in terms of numbers and reporting and business cadence and rhythm of the business. So I think our growth plan is still, what I imagined last year I'd want to do again, or for 24 or 25, I'd want to do for 26. Um, Maybe with just a little bit more, a little bit more aggressive,
Yeah.
but I think 27 could look a lot different than 26.
Mhm.
Um, but I like to be cautious because we're not going to win on volume. We're going to win on quality and depth. That's how I built the firm. That's how I want to operate. So we're not trying to get to 100 customers. We don't have some desire to get to 100 million ARR and be worth $1 billion or whatever. It's a much different business model, and I have much different sensitivities than some VC-backed company that's fighting to grow and grab market share like crazy. Our market is very big. It's very fragmented. We want to do a great job where we play and for the people that we work with, and let the chips fall where they may.
I like it, and I like your approach to it for sure. Um, so, with all these factors, keeping them in mind, where do you see Centripetal Advisors in 6 months to a year from now, Charles?
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I think in that period, um, certainly by a year, I'd like to have a couple team members that we've developed uh, be more comfortable kind of running client engagements. I've been doing the bulk of that for a long time. I never want to stop doing that. I think that'd be terrible. I want to have my hands dirty. I want to be responsible for building businesses or helping move them forward however I can. And we're further building businesses, founders build businesses. But yeah, I think we'll have a couple of folks who are sitting in that chair and doing more client work. Um, I think that we'll have, and I think it'll be full time, and I think we'll have some junior folks who are full time, maybe one or two. And I think we'll have a lot of AI in between the two of them that make their lives really easy, and
Yeah,
help them be really, really impactful. Um, the team right now is part time, and that's all part of being early stage, and I get that. But I think we've selected some really great people, and we're developing them so that they can be, very successful here in the future.
yeah, it all sounds exciting. Um, I would like to ask you if you have anything else to add that you would like to share with everyone.
Oh, to share with everyone. I guess I would say this is like sitting here and doing what I do. One is if anyone has any questions or ever wants to reach out to me about anything, the mission's help founders, but I understand being at different spots in a career and what that's like. So first of all, I'm happy to be a resource to anyone. How can I help is a good way to start. And so if folks want to reach out to me via email, Charles at centripetaladvisors.com or on LinkedIn. So I guess that's the first thing is I'm here to help. Um, and I think the second thing is I'm really grateful to be where I am. And I work with a lot of really smart people on my team. We've got a great team, certainly small but mighty. And we have really wonderful customers that are trying to do really interesting things. And it took me a while to get to a place where work is as fun and satisfying and stimulating as it is today. Um, but I've arrived there, and I don't take it for granted for a second. And I'm very grateful to be doing what I'm doing.
That's so heartwarming. Good to hear. So we've been talking with Charles Solomon, and I want to thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor to greet you and have you on the show. And thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you, Carolyn. Take care, everyone.